What's up, everybody? It's Spontaneously Pickled today, and today is the Smackdown review and highlights for September 8th, 2023. So we start the show with Charlotte Flair coming out, and she's apparently going to be teaming up with Shotzi to face Bayley and Io Sky. Now, so Flair comes out, right? And the minute I hear it's a tag team match, I'm not gonna lie, I'm like starting to think, is Flair a tag team wrestler now? Because she's been doing quite a few tag team matches recently. Anyway, the match kicks off. Charlotte starts with an aggressive start and knocks Io Sky off the apron. Io was pissed off, so she came in to fight. Then Shotzi came in, and it practically turned into a tornado tag match, pardon me, with Io landing a very beautiful moonsault off the apron, bringing back order to the match. Io and Shotzi are fighting, but Io regains control with a nasty looking flapjack. I think like it wasn't really landed properly. Her and Bayley then do a double kick to Shotzi, and Bayley takes on Shotzi. As Bayley fights Shotzi, Cole throws his usual shade at Bayley, but made a good point that maybe Io is a leader now since she's the champion, which I kind of agree with, to be honest, right? She's the only one really doing anything with that faction at the moment. Shotzi gets a nice kick in the face on Bayley and forces a fake fall down for some weird reason that she did on herself, but then makes a tag despite Io and Bayley chasing her. Charlotte comes in red hot and beats them both up and does the chops, causing the crowd to go woo, as pretty usual. Io tries to intervene only for Charlotte to dispose of her quickly. She tries to do the figure four, but Bayley rolls her up for a kick out. She tries again, then gets Bayley into the figure four, and then she tried to do the bridge to turn into the figure eight, only for Io to come in with an amazing and well hit Meteora. Io tags in with the blind tag from Bayley, with the former doing a lovely hurricanrana, and then Bayley was going to capitalize with the top rope move, which I don't know what it's going to be, but it's going to be a potentially beautiful combo, only for Asuka to come out from behind Dakota Kai, and that distracts Bayley from the spot, and then Io also starts staring, but, I don't know why she didn't just go down and help her or let Bayley finish off Shotzi, but it is what it is. Asuka takes the Women's Championship off of Dakota Kai's shoulders. Charlotte lands a boot, knocking Bayley off the top rope, and tags in Shotzi. Charlotte then kicks a distracted Io off the apron, and then Shotzi does her finisher on Bayley for the win. I don't know what Shotzi's finisher's name is, to be honest with you. I think I mentioned it, but I forgot what it was before. But yeah, I'm still getting used to some of their move names. I know some of the regular moves, but yeah. Anyway, the match itself was really good. Not only was the crowd into the match, but it had a good back and forth, and I was actually not sure who would win. However, I did expect either Shotzi or Bayley to eat the pin on this one. It would have been weird for Io or Charlotte to eat it, as of course from what I've learned about Charlotte from my time watching WWE again, that she only chases titles. So I'm not sure if there's a story to be told here, but then Asuka coming in also leads to a story with perhaps her and Io. I'm really excited, but I'm also smelling a triple threat in the future, which I don't mind in some cases, but I really, really, really want to see Io and Asuka face off. Now, Asuka being all cuckoo, of course, as she ran and paraded with the title in the ring, is really, really lovely. And I really love seeing evil Asuka, and I really hope that Io and Asuka have a program against one another. Give me something that Japan hasn't done, believe it or not. Yes, I know, shockingly enough, Asuka and Io were both in Stardom at the same time, but they didn't actually fight each other, but they did team up. Now, I do believe they did have a couple of matches in WWE, one of them being on the house show. I think one of them was during when Asuka was kind of aligning herself with Bianca Belair, but I don't really remember for sure. I do hope to see a good fight between the two, but without Charlotte involved, and maybe Charlotte can fight whoever wins, I guess. I do like Charlotte again, but I just feel like sometimes a triple threat can really just like kill the chemistry between two really, really good wrestlers. So I really hope that they allow this chemistry to happen between Io and Asuka. And I always think Japanese superstars put on a good show, so especially the women's wrestlers. Next up, we have Jimmy and Paul Heyman saying in the back. The segment starts with Heyman on the phone with, of course, Reigns, I'm assuming. Jimmy has the realization of, oh my god, I have a match tonight. I don't understand a fair victory, so let's make sure I'm still in the bloodline, and hanging on to that line that Solo told me last week about, you're only out of the bloodline if we say you're out of the bloodline, so maybe he's enlisting help mayhaps? He insists that no one verbally kicked him out, as I mentioned before, and he is in, then wanted to plan on how to beat the phenomenal one AJ Styles tonight. Heyman interrupts Jay, letting him know that Solo is not here tonight, nor is Roman Reigns, and Jimmy, of course, echoing my weekly feeling about Roman Reigns, is, of course, which kind of made me laugh, I'm not going to lie. Now, I guess Roman feels him being on the truck is more than enough for him to cover his presence, so there you go. Now, Heyman then continues telling Jimmy how much Roman is giving Jimmy like things like cars, yachts, etc., etc. Afterwards, after Heyman finishes, Jimmy goes on for a high five, but then he gets left hanging by Heyman. Paul Heyman then mutters off walking, saying something, only to walk into AJ Styles and tells him that he has enough problems, but AJ grabs him, telling him pretty much to shut up and he'll beat him up or whatever. But then Jay comes out from behind. Jimmy comes out from behind to save Heyman, and then beats up AJ Styles, tosses him over like those like little crates, I forgot they call them, and then tells Paul that he handled the AJ Styles business. By the way, I gotta say, poor AJ Styles, he cannot get a break backstage. He's always getting his butt handed to him out backstage, and I kind of feel bad for him. Anyway, the segment ends with Heyman calling Reigns, of course. Then we go to another backstage segment with Bayley and complaining about this, like saying like this keeps happening. And then Bayley goes on and mentions that she will put Asuka on the shelf like she did Bianca Belair. I guess her in Damage Control. I didn't remember that part. Then Io interrupts saying that she will challenge Asuka. So I'm very excited about that. So I'm hoping that again, as I mentioned earlier, that it's just Asuka versus Io Sky. That would be lovely. And then LA Knight comes out for his match for Austin Theory. Now he comes out with a huge ovation, of course. And of course, thankfully, I'm so happy he did. He grabbed the mic, which is always nice, and he channeled his inner Rollins and let the fans endear to him. Then he finally cut his promo about The Miz on Raw. He goes on teasing about the line that of Came to Play in Miz's song and mentioned that The Miz did dress up and then played make-believe with an invisible John Cena. Now, LA Knight, I have to disagree with you there. You can't see Cena. Don't you remember? Come on. He then goes on mentioning how The Miz was crying about his loss, and he clarifies that he did not need or ask for John Cena's help, nor want his endorsement, which is interesting. I hope that they don't need to build on that. But it would also be good for LA Knight if he does beat Cena, but I don't think he needs it, so to speak, like Austin Theory did, but unfortunately didn't work out so well. Anyway, and he just was accepting, and then he was also going to accept The Miz's challenge, and then Grayson Waller comes out and interrupts him. Grayson Waller mentions, is LA Knight short after The Miz ran through Cena on Raw, which made me like die of laughter, because I like to play into the whole storylines too, to be honest with you, sometimes, that you haven't noticed, so that was really funny. Anyway, then he mentions associate Austin Theory, who then came out, which I was really happy to see, and it's really cool to see that they are officially aligned, which is amazing, and so I hope they build on that a little bit more. Anyway, Waller mentions their victory over the LWO last week and boasting how good they were. Basically, they beat a legend and his son-in-law, as they call them, or something like that. LA then tosses a mom joke at Waller. And then Theory comes out and uses the LA Knight line, and then mentions how Cena helped LA Knight win, whom Theory has also beaten, and then they started going on the accolades so far, and then they mentioned that, unfortunately for LA Knight, he doesn't have such accolades, which unfortunately is the case at the moment, but let's keep watching for the future. LA Knight mentioned how boring they are and to bring it on. He then insults both Theory and Waller and tells them to come down already. Then finally the match starts, and then there were a few lockups that comes a few times, and both of them got on top a little bit with shoulder blocks and stuff like that. And then first originally Austin Theory got on top, but then LA Knight actually got on top on the second time around with the twisting elbow. Theory then corners Knight in the corner. Oh my god, what did I just do there? And then does a snap, and then then Theory comes out with a really nice snap suplex on him. LA Knight rolls out of the apron and does a slice it like nice like shoulder tackle to Theory, like something like that, like a sliding shoulder tackle to Theory from the second rope. Then LA Knight does his head slams on the table. It seems like that's part of his signature now, isn't it? After a bit of a few nice moves, and then like Theory came back with some kind of move with that they call the slam dunk, where he kind of yanked LA Knight onto the ropes or something like that, and then he did a nice neck breaker from the apron as well. Knight regains control with a punch combo and leg sweep and a DDT combo, and was handling Theory in the corner to the delight of the fans, of course. But then Theory regained control with in the corner with a punch and a rolling blockbuster. Knight tosses Theory out of the ring and does a leap-in drop kick from the middle of the rope, only to get suplexed outside after a little struggle back and forth that they had. Grayson then runs in and takes off the turnbuckle as the rest backs would turn for Theory to use later. Theory then attempted to toss Knight into the exposed turnbuckle, but then Knight noticed and then pulled back, landing a beautiful power slam on it, and then doing the L.A. Knight elbow. Waller then interrupts and Theory gets a close roll-up, and then they have a small scuffle by the turnbuckle, which LA Knight lands a BST out of nowhere, which was really cool. It came out of nowhere, which was really shocking. To be honest, I really like this match, and I'm always a fan when I see Theory and ring, and also I like LA Knight. And also the fans are really into it, which is really good. I really do like Theory and Knight because they both have kind of almost the same style, with Theory being a little bit more agile in his own way. But LA Knight, also is very kind of athletic as well, and I really like that they both showed their power, but then they switched to speedy moves and athleticism, which is really, really cool. So it's always nice to see that. Afterwards, we go backstage to with an AJ Styles interview. Careful there, AJ. AJ then mentions that Jimmy can attack as much as he wants, but nothing's gonna stop him from beating him in the ring using a life-threatening statement. Then we go to Heyman Adam Pearce segment. Then Heyman's talking to Adam Pearce that no one should lay their hands on Heyman. Talk about AJ Styles, of course, and then he also then asks about who's going to be traded to SmackDown. Then LA Knight interrupts and mentions to give him that match, to accept that match to the Miz, that he wants to have that match with him next week. Heyman then mentions that he respects LA Knight, but then threatens him, telling that next time he is told that Heyman is in the room to please knock first. Now this is really intriguing because they have LA Knight on looking like with maybe a head-on collision with the Bloodline, because obviously you're not gonna mess with him without the Bloodline getting involved. So I am very curious to see, and on my mind, I really hope that this means some really big things for LA Knight, but I'm not sure. So let's see what happens, because sometimes WWE does do like a little teaser of something and then they hold off to it, and it seems like under Triple H's reign they remember these things and comes back to it. So I really like that. Now, let's see what's gonna happen. Maybe after he's done with the Miz, he may have a couple more rivals and maybe have something with the Bloodline. Then we have the Judgment Day versus the Brawling Brutes. Now Rhea wasn't there as she was at the Superstar Spectacle in India. Now the Judgment Day talks to the WWE universe for a bit, and they seem really good. Things seem really good between the Judgment Day, which is really nice actually. Not all hints of interest need to happen, but we all know that it may eventually happen because I think they're trying to split Priest from the faction. But I wouldn't mind them keeping the faction fully together, to be honest with you, because like I said, I do like heel factions. I'm not necessarily against heels. I know I do sometimes cheer faces, but I do like the heels too. Dom tries to speak, and all I heard was something about like mommy across the globe and women's champion, but because the fans are booing him too much. Priest then mentions that they did what Roman Reigns and the Bloodline couldn't do in dealing with and defeating Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens. And then Dom goes on and Jay, and then he got booed so loud it was hard to hear, but I think he would say something about like, please, you can join the Bloodline if you want, kind of thing. Then the Brawling Brutes interrupt, saying it's fight night, with Butch saying that. Then Rich Hollins mentions, did you guys mention that you guys are the most dominant group in WWE? I mean, let's be honest, they are, and it's not like it ain't like the Brawling Brutes are. But anyway, I would like to see the Brawling Brutes grow, of course, because it's always nice to see some more competitive matches from faces or heels. So Ridge did give off a rather confident promo, which was really nice, and I really liked it. Of course, when they're in the ring, Finn laughed it off, and Hollins mentioned that they don't have to just worry about him, they got to worry about Butch, and because of his joint manipulation. And then Butch grabbed Finn's hand and then did his little joint manipulation. From there, Priest and Balor kind of beat up and isolated Butch for a bit when they came back from commercial break. After a bit, Butch gains control over Finn and tags in the powerhouse of the team, Hollins, who then did like some kind of, I forget what they call that move, but like the round and round move or something like that, displaying his power, and then doing a hanging vertical suplex on Finn, who then rolls and tags in Priest. Priest and the Hollins have a mini power face-off, which Priest gains control of. Hollins eventually lifts both Priest and Balor and tosses him over his shoulder, and then eventually Dirty Dom comes in and distracts Hollins for Priest to land a really nice clothesline, regaining control. Priest then tags Finn in. Then they cut to Pretty Deadly, which is really cool, and I'm really happy to see them back. I haven't seen them for quite some time on TV, so I do hope that they come back for some wrestling soon. Anyway, Finn holds off Hollins for a bit, and Hollins then gains control and tags Butch. Butch then goes on a rampage and knocks Priest off the apron, and then goes beating up Finn and tossing him out, and does a beautiful moonsault on both of them. Finn eventually does reverses of attempted pump handle slam, it looks like, from Butch. Then both teams make a double tag, tagging in their respective powerhouses. Ridge gains control shortly and tags Butch in for a beautiful slam and dropkick combo. Priest then gains control with a flying kick to the jaw. Priest takes Hollins out and does an almost BTS-like maneuver, like headlock driver, according to what Graves said. Shortly after, Butch then gets distracted by Dom and then attacks him, doing 10 beats to the bam, but then Finn catches him and almost landed a choreograph. But then Butch moves out of the way, and only for them to have an exchange, and then for Balor to tag in Priest, who quickly gains control over Butch. Priest went for a South of Heaven on Butch, but then Butch landed a nice kick out of nowhere, only to tag in Hollins. Hollins pressed to do a slam with Butch jumping on him, but Finn knocked Butch off of the ropes, and then Priest lands a South of Heaven on both of them, and Finn does a coup de grace for the win. Now this match was really action-packed, and I knew the Judgment Day would win, of course, but I will say that the Brawling Brutes were game, and it was really nice to see them put on a decent showing. I will say I wasn't necessarily a fan. I'm kind of weird about this though, but I wasn't necessarily a fan of Priest doing the double South of Heaven on Butch and Holland with him tossing Butch on Holland at one point, which actually eventually led to the victory. I wouldn't have minded if it happened in the beginning of it, like in the middle of the match or whatever, like a move on top of it. I never really like when those kind of moves lead to the end of the match, because it sometimes makes the people who receive it look weak, in my opinion. What do you guys think, though? Is that just a hot take of mine, or do you guys agree with me on that one? Anyway, the Judgment Day then celebrates, but then Bobby Lashley's song play, and Lashley and the Street Profits come out and go into the ring, which shocked me. And then they do a stare down with the Judgment Day. Last year mentioned that the Judgment Day isn't taking over. It's going to be them, which is going to be interesting to see. I think that if you guys really want to take over, you're going to need a female in the faction, because, WWE 2023, the female wrestlers can't get attacked by the male wrestlers no matter how much they do. So, make sure you get a female in your faction, please. Just make sure, that there's plenty of people you can probably find. Just want to put that out there. Anyway, when they came out, I actually really thought that they were gonna come out and actually attack the Brawling Brutes. But actually, to my surprise, they were going for the champions, which I think anybody with the brain should have done. I would honestly say that if you really, really want to be in contention, you don't go after the main event, like what do they call it, the main roster jobbers. You want to go after like the big group. No shade to the Brawling Brutes, of course, but let's be honest, they don't really win a lot of matches. Then we go to a backstage segment with the OC. The OC seem to be having a lighthearted moment on the phone, and then AJ Styles comes in telling them, "Do you guys know what's going on around here?" He then slaps Anderson's phone out of his hand, and then they argue for a bit, and then Anderson tells them that they told him not to get involved with the bloodline. AJ then tells them that we always had each other's back for years, and it mentions that he keeps getting attacked backstage, and that's if this is how things are gonna be, that he doesn't want them having his back tonight. I told you guys, by the way, they're definitely building on some tensions between the group, because I saw it from last week that it was just really, really, I don't know, there was something, there was some way I could just tell, but I could tell that there was something coming with that. Anyway, we got to Asuka making a promo, and using English and Japanese, but basically she was saying that Io has a title, and it mentions that she's going to take the title from Io, and she called it Io-chan, which is a kind of a common thing in Japan, especially when you're talking to somebody who's cute or under you oftentimes. Anyway, next up we go to Jimmy Uso versus AJ Styles. Now, I gotta say one thing. Jimmy's new song, I like it. It's not more different than Jey Uso's new song, which is kind of just a variation, but it's just saying him or something like that. But I gotta say, Jimmy Uso's song has like a little bit of a royal undertone to it, I feel. But maybe it's just me, and maybe I'm completely wrong. Maybe it's just some rap thing that I completely don't understand. I hate to say it, but I don't really listen to rap, so I could be wrong, So I could be wrong. Anyway, Jimmy rushes in with the super kick attempt on AJ Styles as he's about to take his shirt off, but then AJ Styles notices and catches him, and then AJ Styles starts off aggressively and they have a back and forth, and then Jimmy does land a few cheating spots in trying to end the match quickly, but AJ of course gains the advantage on that. Now the fans root for AJ Styles, and AJ Styles continues to dominate. Jimmy eventually lands a chop, who didn't even phase AJ Styles, and then he just lands a kick, knocking Jimmy down again. Now, Jimmy over-exaggerated that kick and just played hurt to try to distract the referee to buy some time. But AJ Styles eventually just didn't care, and he kicked him right in the tooth. AJ Styles eventually went for the Styles class, but then Jimmy rolled out and continues to played hurt. He then walked around looking all sad and feeling like he's lonely or something like that because he doesn't have a partner. And then Cole mentioned played on that as well, that Jimmy's used to having a partner to tag in, and he's kind of right, I guess. Like, it does make sense in some ways. Though I also think that Jimmy's also used to having somebody to have his back. But we'll get more on that later. We then go back into the ring, and then Jimmy takes control. But as soon as AJ took control, Jimmy rolled out of the ring again. And then AJ runs and does a baseball slide. AJ then went in for a sliding apron kick, only to run into a super kick from Jimmy. They had a small wrestling spot, and Jimmy must have prayed hard to the gods because Solo and Heyman came out. Maybe he's channeling some of Valhalla's magic or something. Jimmy then showed some confidence and slammed AJ Styles' face into the stairs. Jimmy mostly holds control for a while, slowing the pace of the match, utilizing more submission moves to wear Styles down. AJ then gets out of it with a belly-to-back suplex. They both slowly get up, talking smack and slapping slaps, then landing a kick on both of each other to one after the other, only for them to lay down again for the moment. AJ then gets on his feet first and then clotheslines Jimmy on the outside of the ring. When he gets up, he does a forearm off the top of the outside. He then misses the phenomenal forearm, but then lands a slam of his knee on the back of Jimmy's neck. Jimmy gets control with a super kick and slap. They then go into a reversal spot with AJ taking control with a really nice jumping DDT. Styles pressed for the phenomenal elbow, but then he noticed that Solo was coming close, and moved locations. So then Jimmy caught him with a super kick. Now this was really funny because Jimmy then moved AJ to the side of the ropes where Paul and Solo were, because Jimmy moved away from them, as if he was, and then he was looking at them as he was like choking AJ on the rope, as if he was trying to telepathically communicate with Solo, like, come here, bro, help me win this. But apparently Solo is not skilled in the art of telepathy. So AJ fell off the apron. Jimmy moved the body language, saying, hey, you know, like signaling Solo to do something. Apparently Solo seems to somewhat understand body language, but then he turned his back on Jimmy because he did move closer. But then, like as things got progressed, he turned his back on Jimmy. Then AJ then regained control because he caught Jimmy, and then Solo turned around, only to get hit with a jumping roundhouse kick in the jaw from AJ. Styles then lands a phenomenal elbow on Jimmy for the win. After that, Solo then runs in, but then AJ wisely leaves the ring. Unfortunately for AJ, the Judgment Day comes out and attacks AJ from behind, and then tosses him into Solo, looking at him as if they wanted to give him a Christmas gift. Solo then lands a Samoan spike on AJ, incapacitating him, and then goes in, and then they just do a stare down. He just does a stare down with the Judgment Day. Now, there was really a lot to dissect from this match. I felt this match was mostly about telling a story in the ring over putting on a 5-star match, though the match was good. They definitely accomplished their goal here if it was telling a story in the ring. Since the Judgment Day and the Bloodline are, I believe, destined to cross paths, this makes for a good cliffhanger. However, I do recall the teams collaborating with one another in the past on a Raw a few months back, where like the Judgment Day took care of the Bloodline's problem and vice versa, which I think the Judgment Day actually failed, or vice versa. I forget which one they failed. And you know, what is cool when they do this is that there's always a good dose of mystery here with those two factions. I imagine that if they did combine to make one mega big heel faction, that would be really, really awesome. But then I do think, and I'm sorry to you other wrestling fans, that they would have to chill out a little bit on the heel turns though. Because, I mean, if there's like a million heel factions, we got to have some faces to combat that, you know what I mean? Because think about it, you can't just have 5 faces fighting like 50 heels. That's not fun either. Like, for me, I want to see a roster of equal heels and faces. I'm just saying. Anyway, going back to AJ Styles about this match. Firstly, I got to say, it was really good to see him main event on Smackdown. And I was really, really happy to see him get a victory because I don't feel like they're doing enough for him right now. This match wasn't as predictable either. And it will see how interesting to see how this progresses with AJ Styles, because it seems like AJ Styles now has to deal with both the Bloodline and the Judgment Day, because he's not going to take that lion down whilst dealing with his own faction crumbling, which, you know, it seems like that's going to be a lot for him to handle. So I'm really, really looking forward to see what this happens with this. And hopefully they really make a really good story. And I really do hope they also do something with AJ Styles. Hey, maybe AJ Styles and LA Knight can work together. And you never know, right? They can really work together, because if LA Knight has an issue with the Bloodline in the future, he's a loner. Maybe him and AJ Styles can do something together. Who knows? But we'll see what happens on that. They're not really building anything on that. That's just my wishful thinking. So we'll see. But anyway, that does conclude my review for the SmackDown episode of September 8th, 2023. So if you guys did make it to the end, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and share if you want. I really, really appreciate it. And I'm looking forward once again to seeing more content. I do see that my last Raw video actually got kind of good views, which is really, really cool. So I'm really glad that you guys are enjoying this content. I will keep doing it. And like I said, let me know if you guys want me to make a shorter review, because because trust me, I don't mind this, but I do take a lot of note taking, a lot of back and forth during Raw. But if you guys want me to shorten these reviews and just summarize things even more, so do let me know. I'm always happy to hear some feedback and opinions. Anyway, on that note, I'm going to end this show for today. So Spontaneously Pickled is out. See you guys next time.